This podcast is part of the BombPod Media Network.
And this is the Bro Hio Podcast Show. I am Nick.
I am Rob.
I have a severe, debilitating cold.
A little stuffy, a little congested.
I sound like a Waffle House parking lot prostitute.
Those are the best.
I'll scatter and cover and smother your testicles and then eat your hash browns.
Leave you chunked.
I've got some Ricola in my mouth, so if you hear anything weird,
I've never had a Ricola.
it's not a penis. It's Ricola.
It might be, but chances are it's probably a Ricola.
And speaking of penises and peni, we've got a group on Facebook called the Bro Hio Podcast Group.
It's crazy.
Butt Chuggers Anonymous. And this fucking thing is taking on a life of its own.
It is, it's morphing into its own little creature.
It's a conglomerate of the worst human beings in the entire world. And then some not so horrible human beings.
It's like your kid, you know, that you watch, you're raising them, and then all of a sudden they slowly start like chopping up animals.
They come home with a tattoo.
Yeah. You're like, oh shit, this is getting ready to go really sour.
Yeah, so you guys can go check that out. That's a good time for sure. We also have a merchandise store that is live, Lizzle.
Live right now.
This is the brohiopodcast.threadless.com. We have all kinds of awesome stuff on there. T-shirts.
Female shirts as well.
Bath mats.
Yeah. Coffee mugs.
Condoms. Really small ones.
Butt wipes.
Lucha Libre masks.
Ooh, that'd be fun. I want one of those.
Spider rings. Snakes and sparklers. All the Bro Hio podcast stuff you could possibly dream of ever in the history of the world.
Pillows too. I think I'm going to get some whenever we move.
I want a Bro Hio podcast sock to keep next to my bed.
Emergency?
So I can have a hand puppet to talk to my kids with.
Where's my emergency sock,
Mr.
darling?
Socko. Where's Mr. Crinkly?
Aw.
No. You guys thought I was going around it, then I hit it. And as always, we have some plugs. Yeah. Podcast plugs. We got True Crime Island that's Cambo. He's from Australia. He's probably, I think he's one of those guys that just drives around in Australia and punches kangaroos in the face. He sounds like an absolute badass. But True Crime Island. We also have a wonderful lady. She does the California Dreaming. It's like California Dreaming, but it's California.
Awesome name.
And they both have the most badass cover art in the entire world. So go give those a listen, and here are their promos right now. True Crime Island and California Dreaming.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Roseanne, host of California Dreaming, a podcast that brings you true crime tales from the Golden State. If you'd like to hear the story of the dog mauling death in San Francisco, or the North Hollywood bank robbery shootout, or the murder of beloved funny man Phil Hartman, or maybe even the spree killer who took the life of fashion icon Gianni Versace, check those stories out and more by listening to California Dreaming on the Orbital Jigsaw Network.
Do you get mad when listening to true crime? Well, so do I. If you want a weekly true crime podcast that says what you're thinking, then grab a beer and pull up a deck chair. This is Cambo from True Crime Island, another true crime podcast, and maintain the rage with me. Visit truecrimeisland.com, where you can download or stream each episode, plus there's links to iTunes and social media. Don't forget to delete your browser history. This is True Crime Island.
All right. Those were beautiful, right? It's kind of weird how we're doing this. We didn't even hear them.
Yeah, we didn't.
We're hearing them before, not right now.
It's the miracle of editing.
Fucking time machine. I don't even know.
We're frauds.
We don't have any more gas for the time machine, so we've been peeing in it. And it just smells like old stale urine.
It's not working anymore.
It's crusty. Bugs and stuff. And sometimes if you walk up to it real slow, you can see a faint Bill Wilkins sitting in the time machine.
Sitting on the John.
He was 73 years old. Speaking of Bill Wilkins, we'd like to read some of our new podcast reviews from iTunes.
Yeah.
The first one's from What the
Anon King Dragon.
anal king dragon?
Anonymous King Dragon.
Bill Wilkins kept haunting my dreams. He wouldn't stop yelling until I wrote this review. I found this podcast when Hillbilly Horror Stories promoted them. Since that day, I've ran through every episode, and now I'm hungry for more.
Yes.
A great podcast with hilarious, dark humor. That's us. And interesting topics. Not really. Yeah. If you're into dark humor and the paranormal / true crime, this is the podcast for you. Bring on the Zima.
Bring it on.
And I will say, this person went way back in the catalog if they're whipping out the Zima stuff.
Yeah.
Why don't you get this next one, Big Daddy Dull?
Big Daddy Dull. Not really sure what to say.
Hold on, read his...
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. First, he prefaces it by, Ed Warren eats bags of dicks.
He does. It's true.
It's very true. And a review says, not really sure what to say other than Mondays are terrible. And if you want to make that awful day a little better, you should listen to this podcast. It makes my mushroom tip expand, and I get a little moist each time an episode drops. Check him out, and you won't regret it. That's awesome.
I talk to him all the time. He's a big Browns fan.
Oh, God.
So he said his fucking Mondays are pretty much him writing suicide notes and shit.
That's the same after today's game for us, so it's all right. Yeah. I didn't even watch it. It's fucking trash.
And
Bro.
Abby Pancakes, bro.
That's a great name. I hope that's your last name.
I listened to this podcast for the first time today after a recommendation from one of my favorite podcasts, Hillbilly Horror Stories.
What up, Hillbilly?
And that's horror, WHORE, Horror Stories. I absolutely love this podcast. The hosts are hilarious and present the content in an entertaining way.
Thank you.
Subscribe to them, people. Love, Abby Pancakes.
That's great.
Awesome. I've binge listened to all your episodes after hearing it on Hillbilly Horror Stories again. You guys make me laugh at work, making my night more bearable. I look forward to many more episodes. And that's by Todd.
Yeah.
Toddle, 521.
I think it's Todd L 521.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Todd L.
So great. Happy Housekeeper. This is by Happy Housekeeper.
There are no such things as a happy housekeeper. I promise you that. It's like getting your wife a vacuum cleaner for Christmas.
This podcast has gone to the top of my list. Absolutely love the inappropriate sense of humor mixed in with facts. This is one of the most entertaining podcasts, and that's very sweet. Thank you very much.
Spoiler alert. Coffee bean 99. The Brohio Podcast is an entertaining podcast from an alternate reality that was accidentally left in our dimension by forgetful and scatterbrained otherworldly beings that were in a hurry to get back home and possibly drunk.
Very true.
We're shit-stained leftovers of drunk aliens. I personally mentioned that Brohio Podcast hosts, or bros, if you will, sound exactly like the younger versions of the hosts from Astonishing Legends podcast, and I was told to keep my mouth shut about it by a pair of strange men that wore sunglasses and dark suits with matching neckties. You can't silence me. The truth is out there. Cue the X-Files theme song right here. Excellent podcast, guys. You have yet another new and loyal listener.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Coffee Bean. Yeah, that's great. Awesome
to be in company with Astonishing Legends.
Yeah.
Those guys have their shit together.
Yeah.
They're
a lot more professional than we are.
Welfare trash, and they're like they're CEOs at Chase Bank.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Original awesomeness. This is Daver 2300 or Davar, but I like Daver better.
Daver. Come on, Daver. Give it to me.
Come on, Daver.
Give it to me, babe.
An out-of-the-box journey of great topics and banter. Get on this podcast. Please get on us. We would love that. We're thirsty.
If you're listening, wife, get on this. Another great podcast. This is from T. Rochelle. Rochelle. Love this podcast. Found it during a road trip back from South Carolina to Michigan as I drove through Ohio, of course. Woo. These guys not only give tons of facts and detail about whatever topic they cover, they're hilarious and say some pretty hilarious, sometimes offensive stuff. Well, that's not true. Which I love because everyone is so scared to offend people these days, since some people are offended over everything. It's refreshing to hear some unapologetic humor. Keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you very much. We got next, funny yet informative, John Boy 16505. This is a great podcast, funny as hell, but with great information. I listen to this while I travel for work. I have to be careful. I almost crashed from laughing. Be careful.
We cannot be held responsible for those types of things.
Don't change a thing and keep that good stuff coming.
And from Genesis Solace Carry On, thank you for the quality content. I always look forward to new episodes.
Oh,
this next one we forgot.
We forgot. This is probably one of the best ones we've had.
The title is I Believe That I'm Possessed.
The name, I Need a Priest. Okay. This is well thought out. First, I'll let you read you got the follow-up, right?
Sure. Go ahead and read it.
I'll read this part, yeah. It says, I have a true story to tell you of when I became possessed at 7 years old. I've been tormented for 38 years. Please get in touch with me.
Listen.
So how can you not after that?
If you were the person that wrote this review and you are serious that you think you are possessed or you were possessed, we would love to interview you on the show. You can get us on Instagram at Brohio Podcast, brohiopodcast@gmail.com, or Facebook, the Brohio Podcast. Please come find us, and we will help you. We'll give you a shot of petersilin, whatever you need.
Hell, if we got enough info, we'll throw it out as a bonus episode.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about it.
Yes.
That's what's up.
And this last one,
I'll let you take it.
You Cracked Me Up.
Oh, thanks.
By you.
Yo, Vanny.
Yo, Vanny. You guys are hilarious. I listen to you guys all day at work, and I just can't contain myself. Also, very, very interesting stories. They keep me glued to my phone. Can't wait for the next show. And I think there's little emojis of people smiling, birthday cakes, pigs.
Smiling, scissors, and thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thumbs in the ass.
Awesome reviews.
Thank you guys very, very much. If you want to leave us a review on iTunes, that helps so tremendously. That gets us towards the top of the charts there, and then we can benefit from that a little bit more. It grows our nation a little bit larger.
Yeah. And real quick, I want to read our funny news article from the week, if I may. This one is not about scat or shit.
Ooh. What?
This one's about someone getting their dick bit off.
Okay.
So this is whatever. It works for us.
Sure.
This is from over the pond in Great Britain. Shall I read this in a British accent?
Yeah, go for it.
A woman who ripped a man's testicles out with her teeth has been ordered to pay the victim £500 in compensation and will be confined at home during certain hours of the day. Nunzia del Viscilla, 43, must remain in her home between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., according to a BBC report. BBC stands for Big Black Cock. The 500 British pounds she must pay is roughly equal to $673.80 in the US. The BBC said during her trial, the woman claimed the injury happened when she was defending herself. Police responded to the victim's apartment where the attack happened, reportedly to find Delviscio with blood on her teeth and face. They also found a bedroom in the apartment in disarray with pools of blood on the floor. The victim, identified as Mr. Palmer, met Delviscio and two other people in a nightclub. They reportedly had been drinking, and Delviscio also took drugs. Crocodile.
All right.
The four shared a taxi to Palmer's apartment, and in the early morning hours, the violence erupted when Delviscio reportedly damaged part of Palmer's house. He told her to leave but during an altercation, she bit his left testicle.
Poor guy.
And that's when you're hungry like that. They say it's real nice. You can fill your tummy up with some nuts, if maybe some peanut butter or some ranch and celery.
It's good fats.
Palmer tried to stop the flow of blood, called for help, and was taken to a hospital. The BBC reported that his testicle was placed back in his scrotum with 15 stitches. So he got it back. He didn't lose his nut.
That's good.
That's
good
not a bad deal. That's a fucking awesome story to tell, honestly.
True.
During the trial, Palmer was accused of beating Delviscio. He said that that was the case, but only as he was trying to get Delviscio to stop biting him on the scrotum.
Aw.
In her account, she said Palmer pushed her to the floor and punched her. She claimed she bit him, according to the BBC, as he was assaulting her. I just remember a noise and blood pouring into my mouth.
Oh,
she is quoted as saying. Her defense lawyer said she was not likely to offend again, and alcohol and drugs caused the out-of-character behavior. The confinement to her home is called a restriction of liberty order in the United Kingdom. The attack happened in the victim's apartment in Edinburgh, Scotland, last year. Both the victim and Delviscio are Italian nationals, according to the report, quoting Sheriff Peter McCormack. They worked in restaurants in Edinburgh.
McCormack.
So this guy got his fucking balls bitten off.
Poor guy. What a way to start an episode.
That's what happens when you beat women.
Right.
Lorena Bobbitt, that shit.
That's what happens when you drink and do drugs. And get your balls bit off.
Yeah. If you didn't hear last week, we had Bro Talk.
Yes, we did.
Patreon stuff. We opened it up for everybody so you could hear the first episode. But we got a bunch of new Patreon subscribers because we actually finally put some shit on our Patreon.
We're finally starting to do. We're gonna do another one after this. So if you're pledging on our Patreon, we got you covered.
You get it in,
yeah,
bitch. We get it in. Michael Taylor,
thank you.
Andrew Eastwood,
Tara Van Diver,
and Justin Patorf.
Rachel. Thank you.
Yeah.
One name.
That's all our name is on Patreon, is Rachel. Drew Johnson. He's on Butt Chuggers Anonymous. He's the worst.
He's the worst.
I don't even know if he's a real person. He can't be a real person.
No, he's
Some of the shit
he's just a meme. He's just a meme himself.
Oh my God.
And the big motherfucker, Kevin Baxley. Thank you.
Swinging the big dick.
You guys got to live up to him.
Kevin
Thank you
Baxley swinging the $50 dick.
Thanks for the fun pledge, my good friend.
And
we got an episode for him.
Yeah, the way that works is the Patreon payments process at the first of the month. After those process, then we'll give everyone their treats, their free treats. And Kevin is in line to be on a show or to pick his very own show. So that's what the $50 gets you. You can pay to hang out with us in the studio.
It's not as exciting as what you may think, but
no, it's not. It smells like cat shit. And I am sitting here naked on a leather chair. And when I stand up, there's a brown smudge right down the middle of the seat. And it won't go away.
Also,
and to go back and talk about the Threadless Brohio merchandise store, if you did buy something, tag us in your take pictures and tag us so we can see the merchandise, because we're too poor. We can't buy our own stuff. We're living off the shirts we got from the soccer shop when we first started out. And there is a butt chug design in the works. We have to find a merchandise vendor that does front and back printing is the problem. And Threadless kind of makes that a little bit complicated. But I think they'll work with us. If they see you guys are buying stuff, they will definitely work with us. We'll let them know that we have a butt chug shirt that is in fucking high demand.
It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Been working on it for a while, so.
This week we're covering the Villisca Axe Murders. This was a murder that occurred back in 1912 in, I guess, southwestern Iowa.
Yeah.
This is kind of like a two-part deal here, whereas you get the true crime on the front end, and on the back end, we're getting the residual hauntings and the paranormal stuff.
Not only was it a crazy massacre, but it's also one of the most haunted places in the world.
And this is a disclaimer: if you are, I guess, faint of heart, if you got a weak stomach, you don't like hearing about people dying. This one has a lot of kids involved, but it's from 1912, so it doesn't really matter because they'd be dead right now anyways. Then just turn us off, okay? Because we don't like bad reviews. We like good reviews. So this is your disclaimer. We're going to make you laugh during this show.
We hope.
But it is a very...
It's wishful thinking.
It's a very sketchy story.
Yeah, it's
a lot of shit going on in it.
Not too fun.
Anytime kids die, I gotta say, get out while you can.
Right. Yeah, there's been we dodged a lot of kid stuff, so like with our 911 episode.
Yeah, we did.
A lot of the calls were like involving kids, and we're like, that's a little bit too much.
Because, like I told someone today, we were talking to online, we're only shitheads for 2 hours a week when we do this podcast. The other bazillion hours of the week, we are loving fathers.
We're only partly awful.
Yes, we take care of our families. We take care of our children. That's why you should donate to our Patreon. So we can take care of all of you.
My kid's school's really expensive.
Yeah. My heroin addiction doesn't exist because I'm not addicted to heroin.
No, in all honesty, we're pretty much using all the money right back into the podcast. So
yeah, we don't have a choice.
Right.
We don't have a choice.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. A little bit. So like we said, the Villisca Axe Murders. So we're going to go, like we said, we're going to travel back in time a little bit. We got stuck there for a second.
Hold on a second. We got to go back for Zemus.
So we're going back to the
time machine's an old fucking Buick LeSabre.
That's really what it is. We're going to talk about Villisca a little bit here. So early 1900s, this is a small city, roughly about 2,500 people. It is called Villisca, Iowa, and Villisca meaning pretty place or pleasant view.
Actually, one thing that I had in Courtney's notes, she said that there's an Indian word that's written Villisca with a W, and sometimes V's and W's are interchangeable between different languages.
Right.
And that word in the Native American language means evil spirit. Villisca means evil spirit.
It's a pretty ominous name for a city.
What the fuck?
They already
getting spoopy in here.
It's spoopy.
Put your spoopy diapers on.
Now, the city was growing pretty quickly due to businesses that they had businesses that lined the streets. They had
people having sex.
A lot of sex. trains that would be pulling in dozens at a time each day. So it's the city itself. It's in an isolated area.
A lot of trains running through there.
Yeah, a lot of trains being ran.
Running a train.
So it's in the corner of Iowa. It's far from any interstate or large town. So the town itself is like most small towns. If
It's like a fucking island.
everybody knows everybody, it's pretty quiet. Everyone's close. So that kind of brings us
A little
to
snapshot of Villisca there.
do what?
That's a nice little snapshot of Villisca. Just middle America, man.
Yeah, the heartland.
The heartland.
So let's go ahead and get into the pretty much the family that this story goes. That it follows.
Yeah, the meat and the fucking potatoes right here.
The meat, potatoes, and beer of the story. This is the Moore family. So in the Moore family, we have the mother, Sarah Moore. She was
Prostitute.
she was a hooker. No, she really wasn't. Sarah Moore. She was coordinating a Children's Day program at the local Presbyterian church.
Prostitute.
Now, after the program, she's gathering up her family. Her family consisted of her husband, Josiah, or what most people call him is JB. Their children,
JB.
their children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul. Those are just great, good old American names.
Herman sounds like someone that probably got kicked in the nuts a lot.
Probably, poor kid. Now, their ages 11, 10, 7, and 5. Now, along with their family came friends of the Moore's children's who had also been in the children's Christmas program,
Yeah,
or the
these
program there.
Two little girls that were friends of the Moore little girls.
Yeah, I said I got Christmas on my mind, so I said Christmas. These two girls were named Lena and Ina Stillinger.
And just for the record, Lena's middle name was Gertrude.
All right,
Doomed from the beginning.
good for her.
She could never order a pizza with that name.
No, never. Now, they went home with the Moores to spend the night with the children. They were ages 12 and 8. Now,
They're just having a little sleepover after the church party.
yeah,
They're
just-
wilding out at church.
just having some fun.
Snorting cocaine off the paper towel dispenser in the bathroom. Just running around the church, playing church tag, drinking all the Hawaiian punch.
Ooh.
Or whatever or maybe, this is Iowa. They probably had that Hawaiian punch with Sprite and rainbow sherbet in it.
Oh, that stuff's so good.
Just drinking it up.
Yeah,
Doing body shots off each other.
lucky.
Yeah. Lift your skirt, Helen. I'm going to do a body shot off for Cooch.
Oh, that's sexy. The family and the Stillinger girls then walked back to the Moore's home from the church. The next morning, the next door neighbor to the Moores, which her name is Mary Peckham, she went outside to hang up some laundry.
Nosy bitch.
And in those days, you don't have your handy dandy washing machines. You got to go to the clothesline. You got to have your clothespins. You got to hang it up.
Your dildo runs on gas. And, start it up like a weed eater.
If you got shit stains in your underwear, your neighbors are going to see them. You have no sense of humility. Like
I tell you what, I was out there making some flowers in the front yard, and I got downwind from Arthur's underwear out there on the line.
looked like a checkered flag.
Yeah, he was covered in shit. It looks like he ran a goddamn mud bog race up and down his drawers there, and I smelled all of it. Corn there. The mom was out there knocking corn off his britches.
Beating it with the broom.
What you doing? I'm beating the poop out of my underwear.
Now, Mary Peckham noticed that the Moores had not begun their morning chores, which is what they usually do whenever they wake up. So she also said that she had the feeling that the house appeared to be oddly still. And by this, she meant that usually in the mornings that JB would have already left for work and that Sarah would be up, tending to the kids, fixing breakfast, doing chores.
You come to my house at 7 o'clock on the weekend. You're not going to see much activity.
You're going to see tumbleweed roll across the floor. Yeah. Now, Mary waited for a few minutes and then decided to check on the Moore family. She went to the house and knocked on the door, and it seemed a little too quiet whenever she knocked on the door for a house, that was supposed to be filled with children.
Yeah.
And that seemed odd to her. So after a few moments with no answer, she, of course, knocked again. Still no answer. So she decides to try the door, and she was going to poke her head in and yell for Sarah to see if she was there.
And she lit the house on fire to try and smoke him out.
So that's the story.
That's not true.
That's not true. But she found that the door was locked from the inside, so she couldn't get in there. So she was convinced that that she was ill. So she goes to the backyard to...
That's what you do back then.
She goes to her barn to let her chickens out into her yard so she can, the chickens can have some range time.
Yeah. I think my neighbor's sick. I better let her chickens out for her.
Now, after she let the chickens out, she went back to her own house. So she decided to mind her own fucking business for a second.
Said, take your nosy ass home. Fucking
They started pecking her.
clucking ass bitch.
So she waited a little while longer, and she still had a bad feeling. So at this time, she decided to call JB's brother, Ross, and told him, things kind of seemed weird. It's really quiet. There's nobody. The doors are locked.
He was kind of a popular guy in town. He owned a shop in town. It's kind of a catch-all. It was like a pharmacy / buy a wheel for your wagon type shit.
Yeah, a little bit of everything for everybody.
Pretty much ran a Walmart.
Yeah, it's the 1920s or 1900s version of a Walmart. Now, he said that he was going to come over as soon as he could. So when he finally arrived, Mary met him at the house. They tried the windows and the doors. He was shouted for his brother, his sister-in-law, and then he decided afterwards to pull out the key ring that he had the key on the front door.
I don't get
that. That would have been my first step. Like
if it was my brother's house, I would want like, fuck this shit. I'm going inside.
Walk right in.
Get your ass up. Dog your face.
So they stepped into the house, and they didn't hear anything, and from where they were at, they could see the kitchen, and there was nothing going on in the kitchen, which was out of the ordinary. Because like we said, normally she'd be fixing these hungry ass kids something to eat.
My waffles, bitch.
At the end of the entrance, there was a door that led to one of the children's room. He went forward, opened the door, and saw 2 small bloody bodies on the beds with dark stains on the sheets.
Yeah, see, this is where I'm gonna leave for a little bit so you can finish the story, okay?
From there, he ran out of the room without even checking on the bodies to see who they were or anything. He yelled for Mary to call the sheriff because there had been murders. Now, Hank Horton, he is the city marshal. He arrived and searched the house. Horton identified the 2 bodies downstairs as the Stillinger sisters.
Yeah, they're the ones that accompanied them from the church to play with
the 2 girls.
The more little girls.
Right. And this is something I have a little bit here. There's a doctor named F.S. Williams said this of Lena, one of the sisters. She was laying as though she had kicked 1 foot out of her bed sideways, with one hand up under the pillow on her right side, half sideways, not clear over, but just a little. Apparently, she had been struck in the head and squirmed down the bed, perhaps 1/3 of the way.
Oh, God.
Lena's nightgown was pulled up, and she had on nothing underneath.
And they said that they possibly thought she might have been sexually assaulted, but ultimately they determined that she had not.
She had bloody knees, and then she had defensive wounds on her arms.
So she was awake whenever she was killed.
Yeah. And also in that room with the Stillinger girls, which was reported by the coroner, Dr. Lindquist, was a slab of bacon wrapped in a dish towel lying near the murder weapon, which was an axe. These slabs of bacon, and I hate to laugh about this, but it's kind of entertaining here. You got a 2-pound slab of bacon wrapped in a washcloth.
I know I was in a washcloth.
They have a second slab of bacon that they found in an ice box.
It's easier to hold on to it when it's got cloth on it.
So from the sounds of it, it sounds to me as if this person lifted up her nightgown and instead of raping her, beat off in the bacon rag.
I mean, yes, right into the bacon.
He fucked the bacon.
And apparently,
he fucked bacon.
People in 1912 in Iowa didn't have a conscience. Hey, man, that's a really good-looking vagina on that horse over there. Sure would be a shame if somebody got up on that stool there and fucked it.
Yeah, they didn't have Hustlers or AdamandEve.coms back then.
Hey, man, I got this real nice pocket pussy. When you're done with it, you just throw it on a skillet and you make an omelet. It's a little sandwich. And they also said that the bacon, this guy, the person that did this, committed these murders, was obviously crazy. And they said that he could have been a transient.
Yeah,
type,
hobo. Yeah.
And he was just taking the bacon with him, and he wasn't really fucking the bacon.
He was just hanging on to the bacon.
But just like in my dreams, I picture the really beautiful Jesus. I picture he fucked the bacon.
Yeah, that's what I want to think.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Fuck the bacon.
Fuck the bacon, yeah.
Ultimately, he did.
Now, he also found the Moore family in the upstairs bedrooms. Each one of them had been brutally murdered with their skulls crushed with the axe that was found in the downstairs bedroom.
Yeah.
So it sounds as if the Stillinger girls were killed last.
And I know when we're kind of jumping around here, but as far as the axe blows go, he used the blunt end of the axe to kill everyone except for JB. He used the sharp end of the axe to chop up JB's face. But all the other kids and the wife, they got the blunt end of the axe. They just got...
They got a quick...
One hit a quitta.
Yeah.
And there were some marks in the ceiling from where he was swinging in such a maddening manner that he was striking the ceiling.
Yep.
While he was killing them, essentially.
Right. And of course, seeing as this was a small town, of course, news traveled fast about the murders. Friends, neighbors, and other people who saw the commotion actually went into the house. The small police force could not handle the situation with all the people. So soon, literally hundreds of people were walking through the house.
They said that they
touching everything, looking at the bodies, taking things.
Yeah, they said that there was some people that, because back, it was a different time then as far as, people would keep dead animals in jars and keep amputated limbs in jars. And they said there were people going through, they were picking up brain and skull fragments and keeping them for their collections.
So weird.
And also, they said that the police officers were flushing people out the front door, like, get the fuck out. And as they were getting people out the front door, people were pouring in the back door. So it was a constant circle round and round, trying to get these people out and not letting the people back in, ultimately destroying the crime scene. People were putting their hands all over the bodies. And back then, there wasn't any CSI shit, but they did hire, they had a fingerprint expert come in. And do you touch on him in your research at all?
No.
The people in this community were hanging on the edge of their seats waiting for this fingerprint professional to arrive, and he was coming via train from, I think, Kansas, and they're all waiting for him to get off the train. Like, he's instantly there. I mean, they're up in arms about these murders. They're buying up all the guns in the city. They're buying up all the locks. They're terrified they're going to be murdered. And this guy shows up on the train, and they said that he fell off the train because he was so stumbling drunk that he couldn't even stand up.
Good for him.
And he fell off the train, and he said, something to the effect like, "I'm gonna need a day, like I need a day to make this right.
I'm gonna have to call off.
I'm gonna have to get with you guys tomorrow because this fucking sucks."
So after they, it's funny because this is along with all the people running in the house, a lot of similarities with JonBenet Ramsey.
There is. Fucking
they could not secure that fucking crime scene either.
Yeah, and there was like a distinct hatred towards JB because his head, they said, sustained somewhere north of 30 blows with the axe.
Yeah, so it was definitely a crime of passion, it seems.
Someone that knew him, and they
we go into suspects of who it could be. There's a couple people that might fit that.
And they found during the investigation there were 2 cigarettes that were put out in the attic. So this person was in the house when they arrived back from church. This person didn't sneak in the middle of the night. They were waiting in the attic, which the 2 cigarettes gave that away.
That's terrifying.
And after he committed the murders, he went through the house and took all their clothes and their garments and their blankets, and he covered up all the mirrors in the house, and he covered up all the windows.
And the windows that didn't have blinds and stuff, yeah.
And this wasn't necessarily a new thing. This kind of goes along with some of the suspects. There were murders committed along a train line all through that part of America where the person would commit the murder, and they would hang garments, blankets, stuff like that over the windows and mirrors, which I find to be very creepy.
Very weird.
Eerie. It doesn't really mean anything, I don't think, except for possibly someone with some mental health issues, I would think.
Now, after the crime scene went to hell, a little while after, the Villisca National Guard arrived in around noon and completely shut the crime scene down.
So they rode donkeys.
Yes, so that the investigators could actually do their thing. Now, being as this was a murder of this caliber was such a rare occurrence. Investigators could only really do so much. Like we kind of touched on, DNA profiling and stuff wasn't really a thing. Fingerprinting, I think, was fairly new.
There was some evidence, but it was just completely boogered up.
Right.
He left the axe behind in the room of the little girls. But the thing was, he took a basin of water and left the basin out and completely rinsed his hands off in the basin of water and did a half-assed job of cleaning the axe.
Right. So they made notes of this scene, but any evidence in the house was more than likely destroyed. So here's what we know about the crime scene. We got 8 people that are murdered while sleeping via, bludgeoning from an axe, which the axe was left at the crime scene. Doctors say the time of death is around midnight. All the window curtains in the house were drawn, except for 2, which didn't have any, but they were covered with clothing.
Yes.
All the victims' faces were covered after they were killed. At the foot of Josiah and Sarah's bed was a kerosene lamp. The chimney was off and the wick was turned back, and the chimney was actually found under the dresser.
They do believe this to be symbolic of something. They don't know what, but it kind of went along with some of the other murders that were along that train line that we spoke of.
Yeah, and similar lamps were also found in the room with the Stillinger girls.
Yes.
The axe was in the room with the Stillinger girls. It was covered in blood. It did look like someone tried to wipe it clean, and it was shown to be Josiah's axe. The ceiling of the bedroom of the parents and the children's did have gouging marks in it, which are presumed to be from the upswing of the axe, so they were going ham. They were taking them big.
Is that a bacon joke?
Yeah. Oh shit! They were taking them big Mark McGuire swings.
He was going ham.
Now, a piece of keychain was also found on the floor in the downstairs bedroom, and on the kitchen table was a basin of bloody water, which presumably was used to clean up, and a full plate of food. And all the doors of the house were locked from the inside out.
He was hungry from chopping all that wood.
He made the bacon afterwards.
I'm hungry as fuck. I'm going to eat all 2 pounds of this shit.
This bacon's extra salty. And of course, due to all this mayhem, to this day, this is still an unsolved case.
It is cold case.
I would say this is 1912. I don't think it's gonna.
Someone's gonna solve it.
So
I have faith. One of our listeners is gonna crack the code.
We're gonna figure it out. I have faith in everybody. So, even though there wasn't a lot of evidence that could essentially point to one person, you're still gonna have suspects. So,
sure. And to speak to further where we're going to touch next, you have to think about the absolute dread and mayhem that went on in this house. And we'll get to the paranormal stuff, but we're absolutely setting the stage for a very vicious haunting, essentially.
Right. You got to kind of know the history of this in order to really get the hauntings, because obviously all this stuff stems from here, as this was the first real violent thing that happened in this house.
And they say if you take like a couple pounds of bacon and you waller out a hole and you light 6 candles, the candles in the shape of hot dogs around your room, and you start to fuck the bacon really hard, and you sing the fight song for the Iowa Hawkeyes, that the axe murderer will show his face
sing
in the mirror.
You got to fuck it 3 times.
He'll put a cigarette out of your neck like your stepdad did when you were a kid.
And just to let you know, this house is actually still. It's still there today. The person that actually bought this house restored it to its original state. They stripped all the electric out.
They ripped the plumbing out.
They ripped the plumbing out, everything. And
reinstalled the outhouse outside.
You and up to 6 people can stay there each night for up to $428, I think it is.
I checked into it. There's weekends available coming up. It's stacked and packed like every night, dude.
Really?
It is. And
I wish we lived closer there and I would so be down.
Whenever you look at this stuff on YouTube, which we're going to play some EVPs later, this place is just
off the fucking chains.
Oh my God.
They say that the chances of you hearing something at this house are very
9 in 10.
Very likely. Yeah, very likely. So let's get into the suspects here so we can get into the spoopy stuff.
Suspicions.
Now, even though, of course, the crime scene was shat all over by the nosy fucking neighbors, there was, of course, still some potential suspects.
Well, I don't know, babe. I'm just going to go in here and give me a piece of his nose that got chopped off.
I always liked his nose.
Yeah, he had a real nice nose.
Now, local newspapers, of course, had no problem naming at least 4 suspects in any edition of the newspaper. There are at least 3 trains of thought as to who killed the family, though.
And when I was going through all these suspects, none of them seem like concrete to me, you know?
There's really nothing concrete. And, oops, sorry, that's my phone.
That's Facebook.
Not only is there not any like real person that it could have been, you know, that's
It was definitely a real person.
I mean,
Rob.
it was a real person. I mean, that not any like real.
It was a fucking pig.
There wasn't anybody that was charged and that stuck.
Right.
There.
Believe wholeheartedly it was a real person that committed these murders.
I would hope it would be a real person. It could have been a werewolf for all I know.
Next episode on the Brohio Podcast Show.
But a lot of the people that got wrapped up, it was all on the same lines. And I'll kind of get into that.
And they all subscribed to the plan of point, and that's the person that did it back then. There was no due process of law. It's, hey, that person probably did it. You know, there's some people we're going to cover that just, they left town the same day this happened.
Yeah, which of course looks fishy.
Hundreds of people leave town every day. But,
yeah. So, of course, many historians believe that it was a man by the name of Frank F. Jones. He was a Iowa state senator and a prominent Villisca resident. The other group thinks that it may have been the crazy Reverend George Kelly.
Well, to stay on Frank Jones, he and JB worked together.
Right. Which
they were
not going to.
They were colleagues. Oh, I didn't know you circle back around all this.
Yeah. This is the three group thoughts of the people that they possibly think may have done it.
Okay, sorry to chop your wiener off right there.
No, you're cool. And when you don't know who could have murdered them, the next possible thought is probably a hobo, a random person, someone that's just a traveler or a serial killer.
Clown.
So let's get into our first suspect here. We got William Blackie Mansfield.
I don't like that name.
That's really racist. He was listed as one of the prime subjects. He was believed to have been hired on by Frank F. Jones, which was the senator that I mentioned there, to actually commit the murders. Now, Jones, he, like I said, was a state senator, and JB worked for him for several years before leaving his employment. Jones was really pissed that JB left his job because whenever JB left, he took the very lucrative John Deere franchise with him.
And John Deere was
that cost him a lot of money.
That was the holy grail back then, buddy.
Right.
Especially in farm town, Iowa.
Right, exactly. And also it was rumored that JB was having a little sexy time with Jones's daughter-in-law.
Oh, yeah. Hey, buddy, she was hotter than a 3-pecker billy goat in a pepper patch, but I tell you what, she out there picking potatoes in her barefoot in her little sundress. I mean, she had that fucked up snaggletooth, man, but once you get past all that hair on her butt, she wasn't that bad.
Just like me or you. According to Detective James Newton Wilkerson, Mansfield was a serial killer and a coke fiend. Detective Wilkerson.
Cocaine back then?
I guess they did. Maybe it was Coca-Cola.
They put in the Coca-Cola. Oh, wouldn't you just like to try a little bit of that?
I would.
Back in the day when allegedly there was cocaine in the Coca-Cola Classic.
I think they use coca plants, so yeah, it's probably there.
I don't care. I'd drink it with my ass.
Fuck it. Detective Wilkerson also believed that Mansfield was responsible for the axe murders of his wife, infant child, father-in-law, and mother-in-law.
So this guy was getting it in for real.
Yeah. This was the Blue Island. It was in Blue Island, Iowa. This was July 5th, 1914. This was 2 years after the Villisca murders. So he was thought by detective that, he fits the bill for that same MO.
Yeah.
Kind of suspicious. And there was also an axe murder in Paola, Kansas, 4 days before the Villisca murders. And last but not least, the murders of Jenny Peterson and Jenny Miller in Aurora, Colorado. So this detective Wilkerson here, he's thinking that this guy is just whacking people left and right.
Hide your kids.
So William Mansfield is just essentially a big serial killer in his eyes. So according to Detective Wilkerson, all 3 of these murders had been committed in the same manner, which of course would indicate that they were done by the same person, possibly done by the same person.
You have to take into account for the covering of the mirrors and the windows and the lanterns underneath kind of in front of the fireplaces. kind of like we said, a weird semblance of what? We don't know.
Right.
But it was used in all the murders.
Could have been ritualistic in a way. Who knows? Now, Detective Wilkerson said that he could prove that Mansfield was in the areas when each of these murders occurred. So,
Mansfield said, "Oh, no, you can't, motherfucker, because I'm going to take you to court, and I'm going to reverse sue you. I'm going to take your ass, bud."
yeah, which that's kind of funny here. Each case of those, that they seem to have been gloves that were worn, Wilkerson believed that this is evidence to point more so to Mansfield as well, because Mansfield himself knew that his prints were on file from his prison time that he had served.
Did you say that they were both left-handed as well? I did read that
I didn't.
Mansfield was left-handed, and when they lined up the axe strikes, they were all left-handed axe strikes.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
Guilty. For Ohio Kangaroo Court.
And Detective Wilkerson convinced a grand jury to investigate in 1916, and he actually was arrested. Now, although payroll records did prove that Mansfield was in Illinois the night of the Villisca murders.
Oopsie.
So he was released due to lack of evidence, and he did file a lawsuit, which he won $2,225, which is the equivalent of just under $50,000 in today's market.
He didn't do nothing.
Nope. He got in and got out.
Didn't do nothing.
So we move on next to the fucking batshit crazy Reverend George Jacqueline Kelly.
Oh, Lord.
He is the other prime suspect in the murders here. He was actually invited to the Children's Day program at the church. He was listed as a prime suspect due to him being in the town that day and leaving in the early hours of the next morning.
I'm glad people are weary of these things now about who you have around your kids. You can't just have someone that you don't know around your kids.
No, not at all.
That's why when old people try and talk to my kids in public, I'm like, hey, take your fucking wrinkly knuckles, your old saggy arms, your saggy biceps,
Your bingo arms.
and take that shit on down the produce aisle. Don't touch my kid.
We don't have that shit.
My kids they've had the polio shots. You know, they're fine. You just get the fuck out of here, FDR. Okay?
FDR.
Fucking wrinkled ass. Whatever. I just don't like people touching my kids in public when I...
Whatever.
Yeah.
Now, Kelly here, he was a traveling preacher. He was described as a spidery little man.
He said, I use the Lord. I like to dig down and grab the Lord and use the... I got the pressure pushing down on my ass.
I like that.
Sorry, I'm a preacher in my spare time.
Yeah, you did that really well.
Thank you.
He had protruding ears, a prominent nose, high forehead, a large mouth, and large lips. He was also said to excessively drool and spit when he talked.
Sounds like a good solid. I would definitely fuck him.
He allegedly confessed to the crime.
Why would you let someone like that around your kid? I don't know. Hi, little girl. How would you watch this? I can fit this stick all the way up my nose. You got like magic tricks. One time, you're not gonna think this is very funny, but my friend, he gave me a hot dog, and I made it disappear in my butt. You guys want to see me do it again? Yeah. Let's just come on down to the church. Mrs. Moore, she's having a party, and we're gonna cut the rug, if you know what I mean.
Cut the rug. He did allegedly confess to the crime on the train. He said that he had a vision that told him to slay and slay utterly.
And that's the thing about fucking crazy people. They can just admit to a murder like this, and they're so fucking crazy,
right?
That people hear the admission of guilt, and they're like,
it just
no, definitely wasn't that guy.
Now, before he was arrested, though, he did write a number of letters about the murder, and supposedly wrote things that only the killer would know. He was arrested and also charged in 1917 for the murders of one of the victims of the Villisca murders. He rambled an incoherent confession, and the fact that it was accepted was considered a mockery of law enforcement practices at the time. He actually withdrew his confession before the trial. So the first trial, there was a hung jury. The second trial, there was an acquittal.
So when I'm reading through this research, kind of the vibe I get is they were pressuring this guy for a conviction.
Right.
and he was kind of like, "Oh yeah, I did it. All right,
Right.
I did it."
They said they could have possibly tortured him a little to get a.
That's all right. That's America, baby. That's the bald eagle pushing down on you right there. Okay,
Which is why they said it was a mockery of practices. But
and the funny thing is, they say that he knew a little too much about the crime scene. Well, dipshit, you let everybody fucking knuckle fuck through the thing for 4 hours the day of it, so everybody knew everything about the crime scene.
Pretty much. Next on the list, we have Andy Sawyer. So this guy he's a fun one, and he was in the Midwest about the same time as the Villisca murders, and there were various murders that were very similar as well. So he was a traveling hobo.
My kind of guy.
A man named Thomas Dreyer. He was a bridge foreman and a pile driver. Not the wrestling move, but an actual pile driver.
What about the thing I do to my wife when we drank a whole bunch of wine coolers? I say, babe, I'm going to pile drive you.
He worked for the Burlington Railroad and said that a clean-shaven man in a brown suit came to them in the morning that the Villisca murders were discovered. He asked for employment and was given a job. Dyer said that the evening Sawyer purchased that evening he purchased a newspaper and went off to himself to read it. So, of course, he was hired.
They said he was very caught up in the newspaper. He was very excited,
super obsessed,
and super enthralled by all the details. Like, hey guys, come look at this. It says right here he hit the one guy in the face 30 times.
Yeah, they said that he was he was super caught up in the murders. Yep. Now, whenever he went off to read this newspaper by himself, everybody could see that the front page was, of course, covering the Villisca murders, and he had this crazy interest in them.
Hey, you think that new guy might be the axe murderer from down the street there?
Yeah, possibly, Tommy. The crew were uneasy with Sawyer because he would try to be alone as often as possible, and he slept in his suit, and he slept beside an axe. So, kind of weird. He also constantly talked to the murderers, and he all would ask if they thought that they had or hadn't caught the murderer yet. So he's asking these random people,
"Yeah,
you think they've caught the guy?
I think you got him." He's that one guy. There's always that one guy at your work. He smells like, hooker spit and piss.
Yeah.
But you're always nice to him. Hey, how you doing, man? Because you're so afraid of him coming to work with a fucking shotgun.
Yep.
And trying to,
just destroying the place.
Why even keep people like that around?
I don't know.
Let him go.
Screw
Hire the dark webs. You can hire someone to burn the house down with him in it.
You really can with him in it. Sawyer told Dyer that he had been in Villisca and left the morning that happened in fear that he might have been one of the suspects, which of course is fishy. So Dyer, of course, shit his pants and called the 5-0. So Dyer later testified that prior to the sheriff's arrival, he walked up behind Sawyer. He was rubbing his head with both hands and suddenly jumped up and said to himself, "I will cut your goddamn heads off." At the same time, he made a striking motions
with
an axe. Yeah, and he began hitting piles in front of him.
That sounds like that dude just needs a J. Like,
he's off his fucking rocker.
Left-handed cigarette. He'll be all right.
And the last person...
He's exonerated.
Right, exactly. The last person that I have is Henry Lee Moore, which is no relation to the Moore family. Now, Mr. Moore was convicted for the murders of his mother and maternal grandmother in Columbia, Missouri. This was months after the murders in Villisca.
They're just reaching out and grabbing anybody that's killed someone.
Yeah,
and saying,
they really are.
"You're the one."
And it came into question as a suspect due to the murders being just as brutal as the Villisca murders. And Moore's weapon, of course, was also an axe. So, yeah, they're really grouping up people that kill people with axes.
Not fair.
I mean, back in this day, I would assume that's probably a popular thing to do if you're going to kill somebody.
An axe, yeah. Sometimes there's certain instances in my life, like when I go to the BMV, I think about hitting myself in the face with an axe.
Yeah.
It's a miserable experience.
Every day that I work, I think that.
So?
Moore also matched locations of the murderers that Wilkerson thought Mansfield had done. So Moore served 36 years of a life sentence before being paroled by the governor in Missouri. This was in December of 1949. And they commuted his sentence in July of 1956.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So Moore was 82 and had been living at the Salvation Army Center in St. Louis.
That's a good place to get your fuck on.
And his time and location of death are unknown.
Who's looking for some old man nuts? Because I've
got some I can put on your shoulder. Here, lay down here on the cot with you. Scoot over. I got a big old set of balls. Really,
got a big old set of balls. So that pretty much paints a good picture of who we think may have done it.
The murders
of what had actually happened.
And like we said,
so let's bring on the spoops.
There's nothing there that says who killed these people.
No, there's no one person, I would say, is more. There's not more evidence that points to him than the other.
And I'm fixing to blow your mind out of your head right now.
All right, I'm ready.
Because if you add the time up, it could have been Hitler.
Very true.
He would have been like 20. He had been in his 20s, just,
a fucking asshole.
Ripe with rage. Just could have been Hitler in his micro penis.
It very well could have been.
In his fucking broken phallus.
Broken phallus.
So, yeah, we're going to cover the hauntings now, because this place, like you said, for one small payment of $4.28 and 50 cents, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but you can stay in this house. Take your paranormal team. It's stripped down just like the day it was, like we said before. No electricity, no plumbing. This motherfucker, they used the, I guess, stuff from the coroner, the investigators' pictures from that day to completely line up all the furniture exactly how it was. There's all kinds of EVP stuff online. We're going to play some of that stuff for you. And like you said before, everyone that stays there, they experience something. We've got EVPs of children screaming. We've got EVPs of kids asking for help, tell them to get out. And we also have a listener that sent us an EVP from when she went through it.
That's cool.
And it's just like a pissed off Bill Wilkins in there. He's like, my name's Bill Wilkins, and I wanted to get hit in the face with a fucking axe, and nobody hit me because I was sitting here in my chair and I smelled like shit, and they didn't want to get close to me.
Maybe Bill Wilkins is a traveling transient hobo.
You'd have to think so, anyways.
It very well could be him.
And you can't be surprised that this place was just completely covered with like a funk, darky stank cloud.
Right.
There's just there's such malevolent, evil doings that happen there.
Yeah.
And there's undoubtedly a thing about paranormal that some people say, I don't know, I'm not a paranormal expert, but the crossing over thing doesn't happen when there's a lot of unfinished business.
Right. When there's real traumatic experience, it essentially, from what I understand,
I don't know, I've never died.
Yeah, I've never died, but it can
I took a shit once that caused cardiac arrest, but I snapped out of it.
I've been there once too.
I took the plunger and hit myself in the chest.
They say that a traumatic event can essentially tether a spirit to that location until they're pretty much given okay to go on.
And hopefully, if one of us die doing this podcast, we just keep on coming back.
Yeah, and we can just keep doing the podcast each week.
Yeah, the home has changed hands many times over the years, and as the story goes, with stories like this, that's kind of the thing is no one wants to stay there because it fucking sucks, and it's scary, and there's little kids running around from an axe murderer. So I'm going to sell it. Then in 1994, a real estate agent approached some local farmers, Darwin and Martha Lynn, who are the current owners, and they are farmers and kind of real estate investors there. The real estate agents asked them if they would like to buy the property, and Darwin and Martha both saw, they saw dollar signs what they could do with it. I think their initial intentions were just to restore it for the historical aspect of it. There was no intentions of opening up as a kind of
attraction.
Ed and Lorraine Warren occult museum. But there's a lot of money involved with that shit.
Tons of money.
At $4.28 a pop a night, that's somewhere around $3,000 a week.
And it's solidly booked, so I mean
that's like six figures a year.
Yeah.
To rent out this cracker box that doesn't have any utilities.
They probably bought for dirt cheap too.
Yeah. And at the same time, the Darwin and Martha owned a museum in the local town square, and this was a museum, was like a dedication to their family heritage. I don't think a museum like that will ever be built for my family. I could be wrong.
Who knows?
If they do, there's going to be a golden toilet in my honor, and I can't wait. I can't wait for you to sit on it after I die.
Just
and like
take a shit on it for you.
Yeah. And like I said, the Lynns felt like this was a part of Villisca history that absolutely needed to be preserved. Before they bought it, the house was kind of on a fast track to be destroyed. It had already gone through the abatement processes with the county that they were going to raise it, bulldoze it, and turn it into a marijuana dispensary, which I made that part up too. Upon purchasing the home, the Lynns began to secure the funds to revert the home back to the way it was in 1912. They wanted to make it look as close as possible for the theatrics, I guess.
Yeah.
I think they probably ultimately had the intentions of making it into some kind of giant cash cow, which they've definitely done.
I mean, ripping the electricity out's crazy. You could easily just flip the breaker off.
Where do I plug my phone in at? You can't do that here. Do you understand?
Right.
What I'm trying to... This is the fucking scariest fucking place in Iowa. You can't plug in your goddamn cricket phone. Do you understand me? That's how I picture Mr. Lynn. Old Darwin.
Big fucking asshole.
So like we said, they used the testimony and records from the coroner inquest to place the furniture around the building. And here's where it gets good. Every night around 2 a.m., conflicting reports say this murder happened between 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. I don't think it happened at 7 a.m. because the nosy neighbor was out doing stuff to the chickens by then. They say the witching hour is between 12:45 and 2 a.m. on this one. Every night around 2 a.m., a train rolls through the small town of Villisca. Not like the Dirty D train, like you're talking on Pornhub and stuff. I'm talking about a physical train that rolls through loud, banging noises, whoop, whoop, rolling through town. When the horn sounds on the train, it's said to trigger the residual events from the night of the murders. So every single night, this train rolls through the horn, and they say the killer essentially probably used the cover of the train to move through the house to commit the murders. To use the sounds of the train to cover up, so everyone wouldn't hear him just banging it out with his axe.
Right.
So flash forward to today. Many investigators report that at the exact instant that the train sounds present day, the exact same time, a light fog fills up the master bedroom and moves throughout the house in the same pattern that the murderer moved throughout the house while he was sneaking through committing the murders.
Oh, that's fun.
My hair is standing up on my neck right now.
That's spoopy as fuck.
That is completely and utterly terrifying.
Spoopy.
Once the fog dissipates, you can hear the faint sound of dripping blood.
Ooh.
Which would be the blood dripping off the axe.
Nice.
So we are going to follow that up with, we had a lot of EVPs that I went through, and a lot of them they're trash. We would have to crank these things up so loud they would hurt your head. But one clip we got, they were getting EVPs that you can hear the kids saying, "Are you ready to go get it?"
Oh shit.
These are quotes from the EVPs. One EVP says, "You can't be here." And then they have one EVP of a child crying out, "Daddy." Then they have one EVP. It sounds like it's asking a question. Get the kids with the question mark. Like, get the kid. Get the kids.
Shit.
Get the kids. Who's that? Was one of the EVPs. And there's another one that says, "Y'all shouldn't come around here." And there's another one that says, "You can't hear us." Lastly, there's one that says, "Don't come into my house."
Ooh.
So now I'm going to queue up one of the EVPs I got for you guys. And just to real quick set the stage for this one, you're listening for sheer screams of terror right here. This was an EVP device set up, no one around, in the attic. And you're listening for screams.
Okay.
Awful, isn't it?
It's horrible.
Isn't that like the fucking worst shit in the entire world?
Jeez. That's stupid.
That's pure terror.
That's just screeching, yeah.
People getting chopped up by axes right there. Or maybe it's someone, just really excited over something. So here is our...
Someone with the poop too big for their butthole.
Yeah, that's what I sound like.
Me too.
Just giving that hog hell. Just trying to rip her
Just
out.
ripping and tearing. And
All right, and here is our next EVP. We're listening for little kid voices here. Sounds like kids laughing, honestly.
I know, yeah.
They're laughing because their fucking heads just got beat in with a sledge fucking axe.
It sounds like what like a 90s sitcom audience laugh sounds like.
But one incident in 2014, this is recently, November 7th, 2014, a hobbyist paranormal team was investigating the home. They did the pay-to-play deal, gay for pay. A guy by the name of Robert Stephen Larson of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, was one of the team members. All right, he was alone in the northwest bedroom of the house, and everyone else was outside. They began hearing him scream for help on the handheld radio walkie-talkies they had. The crew ran inside and found him with a knife stab wound to the chest that was determined to be self-inflicted.
Shanked himself.
Right. According to the county sheriff's office report, the stabbing happened at approximately 12:45 a.m., which is said to be the approximate time the original murders took place. Owner said he is recovered, but they won't elaborate on his condition or well-being. Thanks in part they care about his privacy, which we don't fucking care. We want to talk to him. There's a lot of investigators report when you're traveling up the stairs, so there's one flight of stairs to get upstairs to where the mother and father were sleeping, where they were murdered at, that when you go up these stairs at night, there is like a fucking like a truck weight of just dread that lays on your chest, and it like almost like you're trying to climb the stairs in quicksand, and it like holds you down. And it won't let you move you have to fight to get up the stairs. And it's just this complete feeling of sheer terror that settles over you, and it allows you to not go up those stairs. Which I find...
Well, that's fun.
I find completely terrifying.
That'll give you an excuse to not go use the fucking stairs.
Yeah.
Sorry, darling, I can't go up the stairs.
My Fitbit's broken. I'm going to take the elevator. And we have a listener reached out to us.
Yeah.
Her name is Teal.
Tealy Bean,
yes. She says, this is her email she sent to us. She did one of these investigations at the house, and she took some EVPs of herself. And the thing, if you look on YouTube, there's hundreds of EVPs from this place. And the thing is, you have dozens of research teams that have all done research on this place.
Right.
All of these EVPs have the exact same tone of voices, and it sounds like the exact same people speaking. So that's the most terrifying thing for me, that all of these...
It's a consistent voice.
They're all collaborating. They're all the same. There's nothing
right.
like, oh, I heard this and I heard that. No, these are all exactly the same. They're even some instances getting the same terms. Like, can we come out and play? Is it safe to come out yet? Stuff like that.
That's so sad.
It is very sad. But Tealy Bean says, hey guys, it's me Teela or Tealy Bean from Instagram. Is that a laugh out loud or is that a guy drowning? Let me brief you on this so you know what you're listening to. So on October 28th of this year, my sister and my oldest son and I went to the house. They do tours in groups of 10 during the day, so we went into the house with our group. When you walk in, you are in the kitchen, then off to the right, there's a living room, and off of the living room is the first bedroom with a super creepy closet. I say that there's something... The closet is extremely infamous for some reason, and I can't quite remember why, but there's a large draw to the closet.
I remember mentionings of the closet in that first bedroom, but I don't remember what.
Yeah, they try to recreate everything as it was when the murders happened. So all the mirrors throughout the house were covered. The beds are in the same places, and they have pictures and all sorts of things all over the house. It's pretty cool. So initially, when I first walked in, I just had my phone recorder going in the living room, but it was too loud because of our group. So I went off into the first bedroom, and my sister and my oldest son followed me. At that point, I set my phone in the middle of the bed and turned on the recording and walked away. You can hear my sister and I talking in the background, and at one point, you hear my oldest son saying, "I'm going to go upstairs," and I say, "Okay." You hear my sister saying, "So is this where it happened?" Your sister done fucked up right there. She's already triggered the beast. Yep. Is this where you got killed at? And I say, "Yeah, this is where the neighbor girls were," or something along that line. And then you can hear us kind of talking a little bit more and walking around. And then my sister asked me if I'm recording, and I say, "Yeah." And then she says, "Sound recording?" And I say, "Yeah." And at that point is when you can hear something else speaking into the recording. My dad digs the paranormal shit too, so I had him listen to my recording the other night, and he wears hearing aids, and well, he heard something before the voice that I heard, and it's very quick and very deep, which I can hear it whenever I listen to it, and we can't even figure out what it says. So go ahead and take a listen. Hopefully this works. If not, it did work, and we are going to play that for you right now.
So is this the room where turn to this the neighbor girls? Yeah. Okay. I know. Yeah. I'm going upstairs. Are you? Yeah. Are you recording? Mm-hmm. Sound recording? Yeah.
Did you hear it right there?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to play the part again where she says, like, sound recording.
Right, just that part.
Yes, so here it goes.
Sound recording? Yeah.
It sounds like I'm hearing like
it sounds like a whisper,
like something about in here, like maybe like what are you doing in here?
Yeah,
that actually sounds kind of right.
Can we do it one more time?
What are you doing in here? She says, "Are you sound recording?" And then it sounds like, "What are you doing in here?"
Right.
Hold on.
Sound recording? Yeah.
You can definitely hear in here.
Yeah.
No doubt.
There's some fucking shit going on right there I'm not ready for. Promise you, I don't want to go to that fucking house.
Yeah.
Although I do, I would totally lay up in it like a fat ass, eat Cheetos on the bed. You got killed here? I'm about to kill this bag of Cheetos.
Screw it.
So yeah, that's the hauntings and the murders of the Villisca Axe Murders.
Fun stuff.
Some terrifying shit right there.
Yeah, nice and spoopy.
Those EVPs are certainly making some people's nutsack hairs stand on end.
Mine fell off.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure what our next episode's going to be. We're kind of leaning towards the Denver airport.
Yeah.
If there's something you guys want to hear, though, holla at us.
Let us know. We're here.
We kind of got a pattern going. We go like conspiracy, alien, scary.
We try not to cover two topics in a row.
Right.
The same two topics, and like the categories in a row.
We
so.
don't want to double alien you.
Yeah.
No double aliens, man.
The alien stuff is fun, though.
Yeah.
But I think the scary stuff's probably my favorite.
We went up about like 3,000 downloads this week.
Yeah.
All kinds of new people. If you're a new listener,
Thanks,
talk
Hillbilly.
to us. We'll talk to you. Yeah, Hillbilly Horror Stories. That motherfucker. Jerry Pauly.
He does awesome work.
Give him one of my kids.
He can have two of mine.
Also, yeah, there's a lot of awesome podcasts in the Bomb Pod Media Network. check him out. Mysterious Circumstances. He just got added. Justin Rimmel. He's in the Butt Chug group. Well, he was in the Butt Chug group. He's out now because he kept getting reported for pictures. Poor guy. So we are going to cut this episode now, and we're going to start a quick episode of Bro Talk.
Yeah, thank you guys very, very much. If you want to check out our Patreon, give us a little bit of...
$5 unlocks the Bro Talk, and you can hear what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Rob's going to surprise me.
Yeah, I think I got this episode on lock on this one, so...
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.